From the opinion pages of the Wall Street Journal, this is Potomac Watch.
The presidential campaign heats up with a new poll showing President Biden in dire re-election shape. Plus, Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds will endorse Ron DeSantis for president, much to the dismay of Donald Trump, who accuses her of disloyalty. Also, the Hamas-Israel war roils Democratic politics and is now spilling into congressional re-election battles as Democrats who support Israel plan primary runs against Rashida Tlaib, Cori Bush, and others. Welcome to Potomac Watch. I'm Paul Gigot, the editorial page editor of the Wall Street Journal, here with my colleagues Bill McGurn and Kim Strassel. Welcome to you both. Big weekend news here. New York Times Siena College poll showing Joe Biden trailing Donald Trump in 5 of 6 battleground states that will be crucial to the result in 2024. Just to give you a flavor, 10 points in Nevada. That's unbelievable, almost. 6 in Georgia, 5 in Arizona and Michigan, 4 in Pennsylvania. Of the 6, he leads only in Wisconsin in the survey, and thereby 2 points. You add those up and assume the breakdown in other states that are pretty much guaranteed, and you've got more than 300 electoral votes for Donald Trump. Now, it's a year away. It's only one poll, but the couple of points in the poll that ought to be worrying for Democrats. 71% of voters in those states say Biden is too old to run, and that includes over 50% of Democrats. Worse, the reason he's losing ground is younger voters and minority voters. He's bleeding in support from them. He's holding his own with older white voters, but those younger voters are breaking away in minority voters, and that is very dangerous for his coalition. Kim, what's your reaction?
Well, let's dig into that point about the demographics, because it's more than just younger voters. And remember, the big point of Biden's strength 4 years ago was voters under the age of 30. Obviously, he maintained a decent lead in the Hispanic vote, although it was less than Hillary Clinton had done. A big support, obviously, for him among African Americans, and also women supported him by such an enormous margin that it blunted the fact that men, by and large, supported Trump more. If you look at this latest New York Times poll, everything is a danger sign. So voters under the age of 30 are now only supporting Biden by 1 point more than they are Donald Trump, which is remarkable. His lead in Hispanic voters is now down to single digits, while women still favor Biden more than they do Trump. Trump's lead now among men is 62 to 33, and the margin for women has shrunk to 47% to Biden to 46% for Trump. And then, moreover, if you look at least these swing states, 22% of the African American vote is now saying that they're going to go for Trump. And I think one thing that is also worth boring down to in this poll, because it gets to these very scary numbers for Democrats when it comes to their former victory, their multiracial, multi-generational victory, is that what's really hurting Biden here is the economy. It says that overall voters in these states trusted Trump on the economy by more than 22-point advantage over Biden. And they say that Biden has personally hurt them. You have a situation now, Paul, it's the old Reagan line, are you better off now than you were? 17-point advantage for Trump among those who say that they felt he personally helped them when he was in office, versus an 18-point negative number for Biden, saying that these people believe that he has hurt them since he was in office. That's what they're fighting against here. And they can try to keep leaning in on cultural issues, but this poll also shows that most people are focused on economic problems.
Bill, that economy point is really inflation. Prices have gone up. People feel bad about it. Real wages after inflation have not gone up across the Biden presidency. They've come up a little bit in the last few months, but not nearly enough to overcome the decline in the first couple of years of the administration. And I think that's really hurting Biden.
Yeah, I think it is, because it's not just inflation. You know, Biden created it with all the spending and so forth. Inflation was very low. It's still, I think, about 2.5 times the rate that he inherited, down from its peak last year, over 9%, but still higher than what it was. And the worst part about the administration was, first they denied it for a while, then said it would be a short-term thing and so forth. And so they're always telling people that their life is better despite the reality they see. Even I'm still shocked going to the grocery store and finding a box of cereal $8 or $9
for grape nuts, for heaven's sakes.
Right. I probably incline more to sugar
You still
pops.
eat grape nuts, Paul?
I do. Yeah. I'm old. What do you do? Lucky Charms, Strassel? Come on.
So I think it's a shock for people. You know, Reagan, when he was campaigning against Carter, asked people, Reagan in speech on the economy right before the election, said, what is it like to go to the grocery store, reach for an item, look at the price and realize you can't afford it? And a lot of families were in that position. The Biden people seem to tell voters, you know, you're a lot better off than you know you are. And if you don't know it, you're just not as smart as we are. They kind of went the Reagan direction with Reaganomics and Obama with Obamacare, and they thought they could call it Bidenomics. And they did call it Bidenomics, and people hated it more. So I think the problem is they haven't really leveled with the American people. And even now they're doing it. They're spending all this money, or proposing to spend, with the aid packages, but they're not cutting back on any of the other spending. You know, what do they think is going to be the effect of that?
Let's talk about the impact of this politically on Democrats, because even though there's a year to go, the Democrats are desperate to, number one, nominate Donald Trump for the Republicans, but also defeat him if he becomes the nominee. And let's listen to David Axelrod. He was Barack Obama's strategist from 2008 and 2012, talking about what this poll suggests and Biden's standing suggests for his reelection on CNN.
The issue is not, for him, is not political, it's actuarial. And you can see that in this poll. I mean, there's just a lot of concern about the age issue. And that is something that I think he needs to ponder. Just do a check and say, is this the right thing to do? So he just has to ask himself, is this the best path? I suspect that he will say yes. But time is fleeting here, and this is probably the last moment for him to do that check. And it's probably good if he does.
Just a check, Kim. That's all David Axelrod wants him to do. Just do a kind of, well, let's see if this is still something you want to do. No, that's not what he's saying. He's saying Joe Biden should look very, very, very hard at his numbers and the reelection and his age and all of the liabilities that people that are exposed in this poll, and take a really hard look. And if you read between the lines, he's suggesting that Joe Biden should probably not run. That's how I read it. And it's all the more significant, of course, because Axelrod worked in the White House when Biden was vice president. And he is somebody who still is connected to Barack Obama. I'm not sure I believe the scuttlebutt on the right that, Axelrod is looking like a stalking horse here for Biden to get out so Michelle Obama can run. But I do think they're dead serious. And Democrats behind the scenes, you know them, I talk to them, they're all saying, oh my gosh, Biden is in very difficult shape, but it's up to him. We can't do anything about it.
You know the number that David Axelrod was looking at in this poll? Because it was the number I was looking at in this poll. And it didn't get a lot of attention. All the headlines are, oh my gosh, look, Trump is thumping Biden in all of these swing states. Such bad news for Democrats. Okay, buried in here was the thing that in my mind ought to be setting off klaxon bells in the Republican minds, which is this is not a poll that shows that Donald Trump is immensely popular in this country, okay? This is a poll that says that he is less hated than Joe Biden at the moment. And they did a number of simulations in this about, well, what if it was a different Democrat running against Donald Trump this year? Believe it or not, Kamala Harris actually did better than Joe Biden in this poll in a head-to-head matchup against Donald Trump. But here's the number I think David Axelrod was looking at. They had a generic Democrat run against Donald Trump, and he beat Donald Trump by 8 points. And, that tells you everything. And it tells you why Democrats are still so keen for Donald Trump to get this nomination. They figure that even if Joe Biden is weak, he's still got a shot. It's still a year from now. Maybe the economy improves a bit. Donald Trump has all of these trials to go through that is only going to hurt him probably more. People might remember the drama of his presidency, and come election day, you can squeak it out. But as David Axelrod noted, it's getting short. Time is running out, but there's still time. And what do the polls look like if it's a Gavin Newsom, if it's a J.B. Pritzker, if it's a Gretchen Whitmer, somebody who is younger? Certainly, I mean, they'll be more to the left maybe than Joe Biden, at least in their outward appearance. He has certainly governed somewhat to the left, but they're younger, they look more capable, and they're compared against Donald Trump, who is himself not a spring chicken. I think that there's still a lot of hazard in this poll for Republicans.
I couldn't agree more with that, Kim. I think it really suggests that there is still an anti-Trump majority in the country. It's just that majority didn't want to vote for Joe Biden. So if the Democrats can get somebody other than Biden on the ticket, the chances that they can beat Trump, I think, are much enhanced. Let's turn to the Republican side now. Donald Trump is in court today in New York in his civil trial for fraud. I don't think that makes much difference in the GOP nomination race, because I think most Republican voters certainly have discounted it, because Letitia James, the New York Attorney General, announced in her campaign, she campaigned and said, I promised I will indict Donald Trump, find something to indict him on, and she has. And this is a civil trial, so the implications are mainly for his business. But the bigger news here on the Republican side is that Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds has decided to endorse Ron DeSantis. She said she'd be neutral in the race, but now says the election is too important not to endorse. That's the best news Ron DeSantis has had in a while, Bill. He's betting more or less everything on Iowa, and he's recently been losing ground there to Nikki Haley.
Yeah, I think Iowa is his last great hope. The debates haven't done it. I think sometimes he performed pretty well, but it hasn't been a breakout for anyone. Nikki Haley has improved and moved to the front line, but no one's really broken out. And I think it'll take a primary, someone to upset Donald Trump. And if they don't do it in Iowa, I think it's unlikely to be done. What I think he has to do is not just have the governor's endorsement. He has to go around the state and make it a real priority. And he has to beat Donald Trump, because, again, if they can't beat him in Iowa, I don't know where. DeSantis is not quite as strong in New Hampshire as he is in Iowa. Nikki Haley might be more of a prospect there. But clearly the debates are not denting Donald Trump that much. They're just shifting the lineup underneath. And I think the primaries are going to be the big test, especially the first couple of primaries. You know, Paul, as well as I do, if someone comes in first unexpectedly, or even has a really strong second showing, it changes everything. People like the news story about the new possibility on the block. But if that doesn't happen, I don't see. The only thing that can stop Trump is some kind of explosion on the way to his nomination, some kind of thing legally or something that takes him out. I think that's a possibility for both Donald Trump and Joe Biden, though I think it would have to really be serious for Biden. I don't think he's inclined to take advice from the Obama people who always condescend to him.